Hello friends, and welcome back to another video. So I know it's been forever since I uploaded a video, but we are here today with ranking the Ninjago Seasons. This video will be for the Masters of Spinjitzu Seasons only, with Wild Brain Ninjago having another video later on. So yeah, without further ado, let's get started. Day of the Departed would have been 1000 times better if it didn't have the stupid ninja versus villains fights. I wish that it was completely about Yang and Cole and didn't include the other ninja. If we are going to make it this short, at least make it all about Cole. Some people say that this special was doomed to fail, but I honestly disagree with that. It could have been really good, but the poor execution ruined it. They just needed to make it simpler with fewer ideas. Cole has some good scenes, but I really hate how he was forgotten. That's honestly one of the worst things about the show in terms of writing. It decreases the value of Cole as a character a lot, and it's just a horrible idea. Yang is a good villain, but he didn't have enough focus, so the Cole and Yang stuff, even though it could have been better, it wasn't that bad, but everything else was really bad. The other ninja, the other fights, Pyther, Dareth, the messages and themes are also really good. They are about remembrance and legacy. Overall, I don't think that this was a bad season, but if it tried to be simpler with fewer ideas and focus on one thing, it would have been really good. Even though Rise of the Snakes is my least favorite season, it has one of, if not the greatest plot in all of Ninjago. If you ask any random person who used to know Ninjago about what's the most memorable thing about the show, they'll say, oh, Kai should have been the Green Ninja. I thought Neo was the Green Ninja. I cannot believe that Lloyd turned out to be the Green Ninja. It's all about the Green Ninja plot point. Every season has that big question that makes the viewer keep watching the season in order to find the answer, and I think that season 1 was one of the best in this aspect. Too bad there wasn't any Ninjago YouTubers back then, so no one was able to talk about this. It's also a shame that since season 8 we didn't get something like this. And the reveal was done excellently, and I don't think there was a better choice than Lloyd, because that created for an interesting father and son dynamic, while also developing Kai's character very well. Garmadon was great in here, and his scenes with Lloyd were fantastic. Lloyd and Garmadon are easily the best thing about season 1 alongside the Green Ninja Prophecy. You also had the True Potentials idea, which was good and done mostly well, but this season suffers from very weak villains, and I also don't like Pyther at all. He's just too generic. The Serpentine have some interesting moments, but you can't really take them seriously. This is the first season, so the tone is a bit off, and the writing obviously doesn't compete with later seasons. Same with the animation and dialogue. It can be too childish sometimes, especially when the ninja learn a new lesson at the end of each episode. For older viewers, that may seem too childish. A huge problem this season suffers from is that it's 13 episodes, so the pacing isn't the best and it can be painfully boring a lot of the times. It didn't need to be that long at all. The 4 ninja were all good, and Zane's reveal is shocking even though it destroyed logic. Overall, I'd say that this is just a decent season, not even good to be honest. Suffers from being too childish compared to other seasons. It also has a lot of plot holes, can be very boring a lot of the times with bad pacing, but it has a great plot and good characters, a good first season that future seasons will learn from its mistakes and easily surpass it. This is a really interesting season. All of season 1 was building for this season, especially these last 4 episodes, so expect a lot from it. But like I said about season 1, this season really didn't need to be 13 episodes long. The premiere was decent, but episodes 15 to 18 are some of Ninjago's worst to this day for how silly, random and childish they are. They were only created to fill in the time that was between season 1's end and the release of the final battle wave. The writers clearly didn't put any effort into these episodes, and they were just making them because they had to, not to write a good story. Episode 19 was also a filler episode, but at least that one was pretty good. In fact, I made a video about it. Episode 20 is where the main story of the season starts. The final battle portion is good though. Its greatest quality in my opinion was that it's set in a completely different location, which feels like a breath of fresh air after having 19 episodes in Ninjago. The emotional conflict between Lloyd and Garmadon was so cool, and the build up from season 1 was really good. I love how both sides didn't want to fight, but they will both fight for different reasons. Misako was a great addition, and she's a really good character. We can't also forget Dr. Julian. The Stone Army can be kinda generic and uninteresting. This season focused on destiny and family, and I love how they executed the concept of destiny. The ninja other than Lloyd didn't do much and were kinda boring, which is a huge problem. If your main characters become boring, then you aren't doing a great job with writing. I know the season focuses on Lloyd, but it could have at least done something like season 6 by eliminating the other ninja, and this is, to be honest, my least favorite type of stories ever, where it makes one of the characters look super duper powerful and ignores the others. The Overlord is unbearably boring and not interesting at all. Again, you can see how simple this season is and that the writing isn't the greatest. Overall, if the dumb filler episodes didn't exist, and this was a 7 or 8 or even 10 episodes season focusing on the Dark Island story, it would have been way better and maybe higher on this list. The second half is good despite its problems, the animation is okay and the action isn't really all that great, but this is one of the first seasons, so that's understandable. Decent season overall. After Ninjago was supposed to be cancelled, the huge fan demand showed Lego that Ninjago is a special show and that it needs to be continued. Season 3 was finally announced. This is by far the season that received the most amount of hype, and no one's season will ever surpass in that aspect. The trailers get around 8 million views and the full songs easily passed 10 million views. No other season was even close to that, and I don't think any future season will. But let's talk about the season itself now. At the time, I don't think it disappoints at all, especially that it's arguably better than seasons 1 and 2. The villains might be kinda boring, especially the Overlord, as he was already a main villain in season 2, but I think he was way better in here because the whole technological vibe makes him more interesting. The Stranger was really good, and him being Python was the perfect identity for him. Evil Wu was a cool idea but wasn't executed that well. Shifting into a more technological and futuristical vibe was a great idea, and episode 27 introduced that extremely well. They clearly put so much effort into it, not just something to look cool. There's even a message behind it, which is that we shouldn't rely too much on technology because that may create for problems we can defeat, and we saw that the Overlord did. That's Rebooted's message, and it's one of the show's best in my opinion because it's really realistic, deep, serious, and something we need to learn from and understand. The love triangle created for interesting conflict in the ninja team and the closest thing to Ninjago Civil War that we've ever seen. But that's more of season 4's favor, so we'll leave it for later. Zane's sacrifice was well done, and to this day by far Ninjago's most memorable moment. Rebooted suffers from pacing issues. The first episodes were fast paced and then the rest become very slow. I love the premiere, but it's by far the best episode of the season. The rest feel like they were rushed in the making. Overall, Rebooted might suffer from being rushed in its making, so it might not be the best it could have been, but it's still a good season. Not great, but good. Great ideas that most of them were well done, great messages, and the characters were good. This was just an introduction to the peak of the show.
I made a mistake.
It's 2017 and this is the first full season that isn't written by the Hagman brothers who wrote every episode of Ninjago up until this point. And you really can feel that during your watch for Hands of Time. The writing style is very different, especially the dialogue, the humor, the vocabulary, even the wisdom is different. Especially the humor and especially the J. It changed a lot and it's not as mature and good as it was before. The season feels more childish overall and the tone is a lot lighter than the last 3 seasons. The weak animation also affected this season negatively. It looks like a Lego advertisement or something. The textures are really bad looking and the lighting is awful. It was revealed by Tommy Anderson that this was due to an issue during the production of the season. Kai is really the best thing about the season. I still think that this is one of the best arcs in the show. Him trying to recognize the marking on the helmet was really interesting. You also have all that anger side of him and all the dust that went through his head. The writing really delivered to the viewer what Kai is feeling. Wu was also pretty good in the second half. The backstory was also pretty good, but unfortunately the writing was very weak on all the other aspects of the season. Nia's story, the Time Twins, the Vermilions, Jay's little story with his parents, and the flow of the episodes is just really bad. The first episode did a lot, then the next 5 barely moved the story, and then the next 4 wrap everything up. I just don't like the style of writing, and like I said about seasons 1 and 2, this season would have probably benefited from being shorter because the middle episodes are just painfully slow. The Time Twins are okay villains but are very annoying. They are basically the Boomer and the Zoomer. They are pretty shallow, but the Vermilion are kinda cool yet very repetitive. I also like Ray and Maya. Overall good season, but the new writing style is way weaker than what we used to have. The tone is a lot lighter than the last 3 seasons, and the dialogue on season feels very childish most of the time. Most of the ninja don't feel like themselves. Hands of Time is different, but different to the worse. The last season of Ninjago Masters of Spinjitzu, and that's the best thing that this season does, being the last season of the show. This would have been the perfect end for the show as it's the point where Ninjago reached its absolute peak. But anyways, it has a great amount of references and callbacks to older seasons such as with Kai being a blacksmith again, or the golden weapons, even with the smaller details like the eye contact move that Kai did to Garmadon in episode 96, which is the exact same thing that happened in episode 10. The ninja are all very good, especially Kai and Cole. Cole's fall is my favorite Ninjago scene, as well as the saddest one ever. The emotions it delivers are just incredible. And what makes it even better is the ninja's reaction, especially Kai and Nia. Kai had an amazing reaction that developed his character really well. The Oni are pretty good villains, and Garmadon was amazing this season with his hilarious relationship with Lloyd and the amazing lessons about life and surviving. It's crazy how this is the show's shorter season, yet it has my two favorite scenes of the show, Charcoal's fall and Lloyd meeting the first Ninjago Master in the end. The tornado of creation idea was great as well, but I already made a video about how I would have liked for the season to end. So overall, March of the Oni is the perfect final season. It had a lot more pressure on it than any other season because it's supposed to be both the final season of the show and the final season of the Onion Dragon trilogy, and it succeeded in both roles in my opinion. The whole legacy theme worked really well, but it also executed the Oni well enough. A very poetic and meaningful season. March of the Oni is a beautiful season. Entering the top 5, we have a very special yet controversial season, Skybound. This was the first season of the show to cause controversy in the community with aspects such as the prison arc and the time reversal ending, but it still had a lot of fans. I personally used to think that it's the worst season, but now growing up I started to like it a lot more. The first half of the season was weak, especially compared to the last two seasons' first halves, but the second half is way better and it's when Jay's arc starts to get really interesting. Jay and E are the Fox Ninja this season and they shared a beautiful story during this season. Jay's arc during this season is one of my favorite ninja arcs in the entire show for how much it gets you invested into the story. You'll go through all the emotions alongside Jay and feel like you're experiencing the season with him. The other ninja didn't have much, especially Kai and Zane, but that wasn't a big problem as the season doesn't really focus on them. That was a great risk taken by the writers, something like making Cole a ghost in season 5 or killing off Garmadon in season 4. The Three Wishes idea was fantastic and done really well. Nadakhan is a pretty cool villain. I prefer human villains such as Shen or Moro, but I still like him quite a bit, and it was refreshing to get a villain who doesn't care about destroying Ninjago or anything. However, like I said, this season's first half was a bit weak and slow, which affected the overall season's quality a little bit. Not having any new soundtracks was also a noticeable issue with the season, and the Sky Pirates can be a bit too stereotypical. But overall, Skybound is about love, sacrifices, responsibility, and knowing what to do. Living the season alongside Jay and seeing how he develops as a character during the season was such a great experience. Possession, arguably Ninjago's darkest and scariest season. The vibe of the season is phenomenal and makes you forget that it's a kids show. It's full of super dark and scary scenes. The ending of season 3 and season 4 was Ninjago's first step for a darker and more mature tone, but season 5 was the biggest step for that darker tone. The variety in this season is insane. Haunted temples, icy mountains, magical kingdoms, underwater tombs, and many more. And that makes it impossible to get bored while we were watching the season. The main plot was to discover the tomb's location and Moro's intentions from finding it. The mystery behind the tomb of the first Ninjago Master was amazing and makes you very curious to see it. And episode 52 did that in the best way possible. The story is also pretty complicated with the 3 clues and trying to connect the dots and all of that stuff. This is one of the best seasons for the ninja. They feel a lot closer as a team and we see a lot more of them as they spend most of the season together. Cole becoming a ghost was absolutely insane and by far one of the best things about Ninjago. It was a very dark risk that affected the entire show a lot and made Cole a lot more interesting as a character. Nia becoming a ninja was really cool. Moro on the other hand is just crazy. His relationship with Lloyd and Kai and how these 3 characters took the exact same path but had 3 completely different endings is one of Ninjago's best writing and it's crazy to think about. You also have the 16 realms idea, which creates for my only problem with the season, which is that it tried to explain destiny. Explaining everything in any kind of story is a bad thing. And Destiny is one of the things that shouldn't be explained because the mystery behind it is what made Destiny awesome. This is a very small problem though and doesn't affect the overall season's quality. But that's something about season 5. It's trying to be the biggest season of the show by exploring great things that will affect the show forever, such as with the reflection scene as well. And that's an amazing thing because it makes this season extremely significant. Overall, this season is creepy, dark, has a very special and amazing vibe, it's full of great ideas and very exciting to watch. Amazing season. The second installment of a trilogy is usually the most important and gives the most amount of lore and development, and that's pretty much the case here. I like to call season 9 a heavy season. It has the largest cast out of any Ninjago season by far. The ninjas, Sons of Garmadon, Dragon Hunters, Elemental Masters and even more, and that makes the season feel very huge and significant. It gave a lot of backstory by the first Ninjutsu Master in the first realm and even Wu and Garmadon. The Dragon Hunters are my second favorite villainous faction. They are very unique and creative as a concept because they aren't necessarily evil or anything. They just hunt dragons in order to live. And the whole idea of the ninja spending the whole season in a completely different realm is a genius idea and one of the biggest decisions the show has ever done in terms of writing. It allowed for a lot of fun things such as Jay losing his mind or the whole survival vibe that is very unique to this season. Faith is a great character with a very unexpected plot twist. The Ninjago story is also very good. Lloyd was awesome with such a phenomenal arc. The resistance is a great idea, and having the elemental masters again was genius. Not to mention Harumi and Garmadon, which are my two favorite Ninjago villains. The only problem I have with this season is that the ninja in the First Realm story spent a bit too much time being captured. I would have liked to see more of them being free and exploring the First Realm or doing anything else. But that's a pretty minor problem that becomes noticeable only in the third to last episode of the season. But overall, Hunted is a fantastic season. The best sequel that Sons of Garmadon could have had. One of the most significant and creative seasons by far. Countless amazing new concepts with outstandingly great directing and animation and everything. And the resistance never quits. The design changes, no full songs, the bad influence of the movie, all of these aspects made Season 8 one of the weirdest seasons in terms of the community's reception of it before it was released. But it was also the season that shocked the community the most. After being massively controversial, I can say that this is at least one of the 3 most popular Ninjago seasons of all time. This truly was next level Ninjago. The animation is just the best it can be. The lighting, the textures, the fight scenes, the quality. It's so good that you sometimes fail to guess if this image is from real life or an animated show. It's seriously that good. Cole was outstandingly good in this season too. His story with Baby Wu was very well done and vital to this season and maybe even all of the Onion Dragon trilogy. We saw more of his responsibility and personality, and I can see why a lot more people started to appreciate him after this season. Wu becoming a baby was a great and creative idea. Lloyd also became so much better. One of if not the best voice acting in the entire show that made Lloyd's character way better. Lloyd became deeper and darker with a lot more depth to him. I learned a valuable lesson about trust and love. Harumi is my all-time favorite Ninjago villain. Her plot twist was very shocking yet made complete sense. She's just the perfect villain, but I already talked about her 3 times before. The Sons of Garmadon are also my favorite villains faction. The tone of the season feels dark and mature. The dialogue is amazing and so is the humor. Overall, Season 8 really proved not just the book by its cover, a very shocking and surprising season filled with amazing plot twists. It manages to be pretty dark yet it has the soul that the last 7 seasons had. A huge yet successful risk taken by the writers. The Tournament of Elements is the perfect Ninjago season. It's so good that I don't think any season will ever top this one. The only season that I literally have no issues with. It's so good that I'm actually trying to find bad things about it, but I actually can't. Let's start with the amazing plot. Why did Shen assemble this tournament? That's the big question of the season, and like I said about season 1, it's such a fantastic plot. Easily the best season in terms of concepts. Uncharted Island, jungles, old temples, a tournament between elemental masters, extremely creative ideas that makes this season so exciting and makes you want to watch it only by reading its description. It's very unique, I'll never see something like it. I like other seasons that don't feel very original really. I'm pretty sure that this was the season that got so many people into the show and made them love it, because I'm one of these people. I watched Ninjago since season 1, but I only loved it starting from this season. All the ninja had big roles and none of them were left out. The elemental masters are phenomenal, and I love how a lot of them have big roles such as Neuro, Scholar, Carl of Shade. Having so many elemental masters is a fantastic idea, especially that it's passed through generations from father to son. Shen is a fantastic villain. He's really goofy and playful from the outside, but extremely deceiving and clever from the inside. He cares about no one but himself, and his treatment of those around him, even the closest people to him such as Clouds and Skylar, was so dark. Very complicated villain. The Serpentine War, the Anaconda, the original Elemental Masters, Wu's Ladder, so many arcs that makes this Ninjago's most complicated season, and Ninjago's most creative season by far. The writing is very complex and a huge upgrade from seasons 1, 2 and 3. The writers clearly learned a lot. They made a huge story that was very original and unique. Easily the best season in terms of soundtracks as well for how exciting or even sad they can be. This season's messages are about fear and honor, which are really deep messages that even an older viewer can learn from. Overall, there is no way that I can give Tournament of Elements what it deserves in this video, so I need to make an entire 10 minutes or so video about this season to show you why it's one of the best seasons of anything. So yeah, that's it with today's video. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to tell me in the comments what you think of this video and what is your ranking for the Ninjago seasons. Expect a lot more top 10s in the next period hopefully, and maybe a lot of collabs as well. So yeah, hopefully I'll be coming back to the channel with a lot more videos very soon. So yeah, don't forget to like, subscribe, share with your friends, and I'll see you next time.